right, y'all. Welcome back. My name is Lara Williams. This is Sonographers After Dark, and I am joined by Lashell Jones. Lashell, welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I've seen so much of the work that you're doing. You know, your LinkedIn profile is kind of blowing up. You have a lot going on in that fetal echo space, which I love. And so, I just thought it would really be good to have a conversation around that, around some things in ultrasound that are developing with AI and a lot of other things that we're incorporating into our scans on a regular basis. So yeah, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Yes, absolutely. I was so excited when I saw your email. And so I was like, oh, heck yeah, I would love to be a part of your podcast. So thank you for the invitation again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And awesome work, by the way. I think that you're really building out your platform, and I love that. So congratulations.
Thank you. And I've used your products before.
Oh. Awesome.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, I've used this.
Okay, so, cool. So
I knew exactly who you were.
Awesome. I'm kind of building this podcast out. So I'm trying to really find people that have a similar passion for ultrasound that I have. That's one thing that I've loved, and ultrasound is really everything. I've done it for 20 years. You have too, right? So, we've grown up in ultrasound, and my whole life has just been completely different because I've made the choice to go into ultrasound.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Tell me about a little bit about where you've come from over the last 20 years in ultrasound.
Well, that's what I was just about to mention, that I was actually going to school for physical therapy. And so in order to be a part of the physical therapy program, you have to have a bachelor's in a health science field. And so my mom was like, oh, I think it'll be cool. You just go through ultrasound, because they use it for like heat therapy and so forth. So just see the other side of it. And I'm like, okay. And then like midway into my program, I was like, Mom, I think I like this program better. And so she was like, are you kidding me? You're going to set yourself back like a semester. And I'm like, I think it'll be totally worth it. And trust me, I am so glad that I made the switch into ultrasound. And so so I kind of found it by accident, but I felt like it was for me, I don't feel like it was an accident. I love OB, like you said, your passion. And I can't imagine me doing anything else other than where I'm at now. So, yeah. So let's say ultrasound for me.
Yeah. I kind of got into it by accident too. My mom's friend told me about it, and I was like, all right. I was going to go be a medical assistant because I needed to figure out something with my life. Well, thank God I didn't do that.
Yeah, right.
Here I am, 20 plus, 25 years later. And so I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities I've had in my life if it weren't for ultrasound.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
Yep. So you currently work as a fetal echo specialist, really. You're working in a perinatology office or MFM office. Tell me a little bit about the daily work that you do.
That's a lot. But in a nutshell, I work at a maternal-fetal medicine outpatient clinic. And so we do fetal echoes, but we pretty much do a little bit of everything. We're doing fetal well-being studies. We're doing Doppler studies. We're seeing twins, triplets, first trimester screenings. We're taking a part of measurements and so forth. So I'm kind of like doing OB/GYN because there occasionally is some GYN cases that may come in for us. And then of course fetal echoes. I'll probably do about 2 fetal echoes a day. Okay. And so it's good to get that overall assessment of everything. And so there's no one exam that I love more. I do love doing fetal hearts, but I pretty much like it all. So
gotta love those gastroschisis and high risk OB in general, right? Doing amnios, all of that.
And even CVS. We've done a few CVS procedures this year. Actually, quite a few that I've done. I've done more CVS procedures than I have amniocentesis this year.
Wow. Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think times are shifting with some of the things that are being ordered. My time in MFM was a while ago. So
Mhm.
I'll be honest. I shifted into adult echo and then pediatric echo. So then doing fetal echo from the pediatric cardiology side. But
Wow.
prior to that, I was MFM. And so that really helped me bridge into echo, quite honestly, because
Mhm.
I knew so much about the heart. So when I transitioned into actually doing echocardiography, that experience really helped me quite a bit. But I think
Yes.
the times have significantly changed, over the
Mhm.
last decade since I was doing MFM ultrasound. So let's talk about a little bit of those changes that we've seen take place
Mhm.
clinically as well as in ultrasound, and some of the things that are on the horizon in ultrasound, like AI and those types of
Mhm. Yeah, I was going to say currently right now AI is where it's at,
yeah.
but I was just thinking like initially when I we first heard about AI coming on the scene, I some that didn't know were like, "Oh, it's going to take your job." And so you were a little nervous, in the beginning, but now you see that it's here to actually help us. It's not here to replace us. It's here to make our job easier. And honestly, I can't imagine doing a day to day without my AI assistant. I call it my assistant because it's been a game changer, especially with the fetal echoes, cardiograms that we have to do and the level 2 scans.
Yeah.
I'm completing those studies in like 15 minutes thanks to
Mm.
AI and the features that it allows me to use during the actual scan. And so I embrace it. I embrace all the changes that we're having, and especially anything to make your job easier. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm
And
all
I think
for
it
it.
also boils down to not just make your job easier, but make your job less risky, right? I think that it
Mhm.
helps with
Initiative.
ergonomics. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, significant impact to ergonomics, how you scan, the number of scans. And I think that there's a view from both sides of that, right? So on
Right.
one hand, you have people that say, okay, yeah, it's going to reduce your exam time, but that means they're going to throw on extra exams and my
Excellent.
shoulder's just going to get more worn out.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, that might be true in some cases, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
a trade-off that we might have with some employers, but hopefully it decreases the burden of scanning on each sonographer.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
hope and the
Yes.
goal. And like you said, you're able to do things that are normally very repetitive that you're doing every
Mhm.
scan, and it just increases your throughput because of the time saved. How much time do you
Absolutely.
think it really saves off of an exam? I mean, if you're doing a full anatomy scan in 15 minutes, that's a lot of time savings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's at least 30 minutes is
Yeah.
being saved because I don't have to plug in the annotations. It automatically is doing the measurements for me.
How you
I,
scan.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't have to do those measurements, those tedious measurements, because the system is automatically doing it for me. And
Yeah.
so we're talking at least in half an hour is
Yeah.
being saved on these exams.
Between that and measurements. And I would say, there's
Hmm.
always going to be this caveat of AI is not perfect, because it's not.
Hmm. It's
It's
not.
built on an algorithm, so it's built
Hmm.
on normals. You throw a whole bunch of normal images at this algorithm, and you let this learning module learn on what is normal, and so then
Right.
it recognizes it, right? So it's this
Hmm.
deep learning aspect that it is built to recognize normal, and
Hmm.
then abnormals will throw it off. So you still have
Abnormal.
to be
Yes.
in control. Yeah.
I find that abnormals will throw it off, and it's also that imperfect patient.
Yeah.
A lot of times, with body habitus and so forth, if it's not the clearest picture, it will just label randomly on a radius. I'm like, I'm in the heart. Like, where do you see that? So it's just so,
So
it's just
having
like,
worked for industry, right? So I actually worked for a couple different industry manufacturers working on developing ultrasound systems and
hmm.
some of AI aspects of that as well. And so you learn kind of the pattern that you have to scan in order for it to
Hmm.
process that algorithm correctly. For
Hmm.
example, in an adult heart, if it doesn't see the whole left atrium, or at least half the left atrium, it's not going to get you your echo measurements. If same in the fetus, right? If it doesn't see you move from here to the heart or where, it's not going to recognize that as
Lovely.
your your radius or your long bone or humerus, so it is limited in some ways, but this is where we shine, right? We are smarter than the AI, hopefully, hopefully, but we use AI to our advantage as a tool and not be afraid of it, like you said, for sure. So, I also have to consider standardization, right? So one of the things in my career that I've done a lot of is accreditation. I've worked with numerous doctors' offices, hospital facilities to get them accredited, whether that be IAC accreditation for fetal echo, AIUM, ACR for radiology. So I've come to find out that standardization is so critical when it comes to accreditation. And so if you can get your sonographers kind of scanning in that same mode, and fetal, you can't standardize a baby. You can't tell it where it's going to be and what position it's going to be in. So that's a little harder to standardize. I mean, yes, you have to follow your protocols and you have to make sure you get all of your images, and you can use AI to do that, right? Like you can set up your workflow to account for that. Absolutely. So is that something that you like to use?
No, because like you said, with the fetus, I always say I'm at the mercy of a fetus. So if you know, so I usually don't use it, but I still say that you must have a system in place. I find, some sonographers, especially some of the new sonographers, if they'll start at the head and then if baby moved, then we're at the heart and so forth. So I'm like, it's just you still have to have a system in place.
Segmental approach, right? So
absolutely,
that you follow every single time, and then if you don't get something, then you adjust and you go back and you get that. But you do your same order, your same system every time. Otherwise, you will forget something.
You will, and then they'll come out like, "Oh, did I get the heart rate, or did I get this?" It was like, see, if you had a system, you would know your checklist mentally here. So
that checklist has to be in your head for sure. And I think using a checklist in some situations, like an abdominal exam or even an echo in some cases, probably not a pediatric echo for me anyway. Some people like it. I personally do not like it for a pediatric echo, but because just sometimes you're fighting the kiddo the same, So, but when you're dealing with certain exams, I think a protocol or work list is helpful. But like you said, you're at the mercy of the fetus. So it's nothing you can do about it.
And you know what? I don't even have a plan yet until I put the transducer down and see what position we're in. And then it's like, okay, now here's my plan. Because otherwise, you just don't know.
Yeah. And it all depends on position and then situs and everything else. So it's all up for grabs. So yes. No. But, coming back to that standardized piece, though, like you said, we still have to have an approach that is orderly, a segmental approach where we, have detail in our exam and we're not forgetting things. Because when you go to get accredited and you have missing images or your images are way out of what is expected, then it makes it really hard to get accredited too, So it's a battle for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's, we were talking before. I really appreciate what you're trying to bring into this space of education, right? I've done ultrasound education for quite a while now. I've had a platform at allaboutultrasound.com, my little shameless plug, for, I don't know, like a decade. I think I started it in 2012. And so, so I've been in this little corner of ultrasound education kind of on my own for a little while. I worked as an education specialist in a hospital system for a while as well, but I really love what you're bringing. I think that sometimes it's so easy to just try to pass a registry, which I offer registry review. I know you're building one too, and there's a place for that, but it can't just be about memorization, right? Like you have to engage people and engage in learning so that it's a critical thinking process instead. So kind of talk to me about how you like to teach when it comes to that to make sure that learners are really truly engaged.
I try to look at it like, because if you think about it as a learning thing, it gets boring or people tend not to listen. And so if you try to break it down more in a clinical setting and so forth, scenarios, I love with my teaching, I always give scenarios and like real life clinical situations, so then they can remember how to, I guess, act in a certain particular scenario, you know. And so with my learning or teaching, I try to do it in a way where they're they won't get bored. In other words, you know, because you know, there's one way where you can just read the book, you know, and that's just come on. Who wants to do that, you know? And
No
so
one.
if you just try to scenarios, I find is so helpful into grasping, where someone will grasp, oh, I understand now. I'm gonna use physics as an example.
Mhm.
Ultrasound physics, we all know about ultrasound physics and how tedious and, you know, boring it could be. It wasn't until I had to take it again for my fetal echo registry
Oh, wow.
when it clicked for me. And you hit on something earlier when you said memorization. When I first took it, I just memorized the book. I didn't understand the concepts, but it wasn't until this last time recently where I took it, and I'm like, this physics is our ultrasound machine. It's how our machine works. And so when you talk about dynamic range, I use that all the time.
Yeah.
That's when it clicked for me. Like,
Mhm.
oh, this is what that is. And so it's all about just relating the terminology, because it could be complex. And then so those scenarios just kind of make it easier to, you know, grasp.
So I caught something that you said, that you had to take your physics again.
I did.
So that tells me that you got registered under OBGYN, under RDMS back
I
in the
did.
old days before
In the
SPI.
old days.
And then you had to take SPI. So let's talk
Yes.
about this ARD. Okay. I'm not going to bash the ARDMS. It's a good professional organization. I
Mhm.
value the ARDMS because I have a lot of ARDMS credentials. So
Mhm.
I do value them. I know that they're shifting some things around, and a lot of people are frustrated over that. They are confused by the whole 5-year role in the SPI versus the
Right.
other. And so it just made me think about that. Like, I had to take 3 physics for my registries. I took one for
Ooh.
general, one for vascular, and one for cardiac. And then they published the SPI. I was not
And then you
happy.
had to do that, but then you
No,
had to
no, no.
take it again, right?
I've never had to take it again. No, I've taken
Oh, okay.
yeah, I took my fetal echo after they published the SPI, but because I was already RDCS, I never had to take it again. But
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
so yeah. But yeah, I had to take 3 of them, and now people get 1. I wasn't happy about that change, honestly. I
I'm
mean, I have to
sure.
really feel like, hello? I feel like sometimes like my credentials have more value because I took 3 separate physics to get them, you know?
Right.
And
Wow.
maybe that's a bad feeling, but that's how I feel. So I'm sure you feel that way having to take 2 now, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah. So
I mean, everyone thought I was silly that I did that, but I wanted to have the RDCS, and so I felt it was worth it. And so if I had to take physics again, which I'm glad I did, because that's when I finally understood what it was about.
but
And
isn't
so,
that funny how you passed RDMS physics before you passed your general ultrasound physics and you weren't
mhm,
really sure about it? That
exactly.
tells you that you can take a test. If you're a good test taker, you'll still pass it,
Because I just memorized the book. That's
which is
really
good and
all
scary all
I
at the same time. Yeah.
uh-huh.
How many sonographers out there are scanning but don't understand the test that they took and passed to get there?
Um, you'd be surprised. There are a lot.
I know.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how do we
you
fix
wonder
that?
about that. Well, that's why I'm doing the teaching that I'm doing,
Yep.
because you know it's all about understanding at the end,
Yeah.
not just memorizing the
Yep.
book. You want to understand the why behind the
Right.
picture, and
Yep.
so that's exactly why I do and why I teach the way I do.
Yeah. Because you
That.
really, you should never just be following a protocol to scan because someone gives you a list of what you need to scan.
Mhm,
Yes, you need to have your list to keep your thoughts organized, keep your scan organized.
mhm,
But that doesn't mean that you have to be that critical thinker. What if you see this? What does that mean? If you
mhm.
see, an omphalocele, what else should you be looking for? Right? Like, you have to
Exactly.
put all the pieces of the puzzle together and not just be satisfied with, I took a picture of the abdominal circumference and the, cord insert. Okay, great. What do you do with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
how does it fit the rest of the puzzle? And so,
Exactly.
this is where hopefully we can turn, and I don't want to bash the newer sonographers coming out. I think
Mhm,
that there's
mhm,
some varied mix there, but I do think that physics somewhere along the way has kind of been tuned down just a little bit, at least in
mhm,
my opinion. I think that, not everyone does think critically through that. And so a
mhm,
lot of that is just some test taking just to pass it, because, people are passing physics now before they're ever graduated from school. I
mhm.
didn't have that. When I graduated from school, we just graduated and then we took
Right.
physics. I had a
Exactly.
job before I ever was registered, because back then they were so desperate for sonographers. You could get a job
That
without
is
being
true.
registered.
That is
You know,
true.
I passed my registry 6 months after graduation. So
That
yeah,
is true.
it's not like that anymore. And now it's
Mhm.
really competitive too. You're
Yes.
passing
Yes.
that physics like right then and there. And I think, at least this is what I've heard from a lot of people, is that there are some schools that won't even graduate you if you didn't pass your SPI.
Yes. They a lot of the students that I do the clinicals for, they have to pass that physics and actually both boards, even OB or the abdomen. My last student actually was fully registered. She had abdomen and OB before her graduation.
I don't know. So there's something
Right.
fundamentally that I don't know if I'm okay with that.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I just couldn't. It was like, wow. Like,
My head
I,
can't wrap around that. I don't know why.
mm,
I'm old.
but in her defense, she could scan. She
Yeah,
was so
that's
ready.
all.
And she understood. Like she was a unicorn, definitely a unicorn. But she understood what she, and I said, "You are so far ahead than I was when I graduated." And so
Yeah, and
I
I
was
do
very happy
feel.
for her.
Yeah, I feel like it's more competitive now than it was when I graduated.
Hmm.
I feel like there's so much more competition for every, not just for getting jobs, but also getting into the program, as
Hmm.
well as then, some programs, they'll take you because you have money, right? Let's face it, that's the
Hmm.
reality. But some are much more selective, and hopefully they
I'm
are.
hearing that.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm
So
hearing
I
that.
think it is tougher. It's definitely more competitive to get a job for sure. So which is why they're graduating people with registries already. And it just blows my mind. I still can't fathom that. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm just old. Old and set in my ways.
Hey, don't give our age away.
No secrets. I'm good. It's okay. Yeah. So anyway, so to revisit
Hmm.
our AI conversation, because I want to make sure we
Yes.
wrap that up. For me, I think there's so many aspects of AI, and people are afraid of it.
Hmm.
Coming from the industry side, I did a couple of different roles. I did help develop some systems in clinical development. I also worked as a sales trainer and a product manager. And so I've kind of been on the opposite side of it, where I'm hearing the pushback on AI, right? I'm hearing
Hmm.
how it's going to take our jobs. And, I'm hearing that
Right.
from a sales point, right? And so,
Hmm.
you know, obviously our industries are trained to try to counteract that sales talk, right? So we're
Right.
trained with some messaging around that. So I don't want to necessarily put a sales spin to that. I want to hear more of a clinical side, like, you
Hmm.
know, yes, AI is great and I can
Hmm.
sell it, right? And there's a lot of sales points to it, but clinically, really, where do you see it? Let's say 5 years from now, we've seen where it's come to today, but how do you
Hmm.
really see it impacting clinical day-to-day operations, say 5, 10 years down the road?
Hmm. Let's see. Let's see. 5, 10 years from now. Um, that's a good question. I mean, I definitely see that it will impact the flow of things. Honestly, I mean, I'm already seeing that. I think from here on out, it can only get better with improving the workflow,
Yeah.
as well as impacting far as your chart system and so forth. If it could just do the whole chart for me, that would be helpful.
I'm
Let me
sure
just
there's
throw that out
companies
there.
that
So if I did not have to do the chart
I
after
know of at
the
least one or
anatomy
two.
scan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it's leading to that direction where seamlessly when we're done on the ultrasound machine, it's flowing into our PAC system.
Hmm.
And I also actually seen where some are already doing that. And so if it could become a little more cost effective, because we missed out on getting that package because we were a smaller practice. And
Yeah.
so hopefully it'll be a little more affordable in 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of would like to see, for a smaller offices, because we want to utilize those packages as well.
Yeah. And that's who really needs the workflow, I think, because, especially if
Yeah.
we're physicians doing the interpretations, right?
Hmm.
Their time is so stretched, I'm sure, that those smaller
Absolutely.
practices are really who can benefit from it. Not that a
Absolutely.
hospital can't, they can too, but they
Hmm.
usually have a whole other PAC system in place and whole other setup, and they're more streamlined when it comes to managing that workflow. Where in a small practice, it's not. It's usually not.
Right. So we need
So
that
yeah,
for affordability. I will hope to see that
yeah.
in the future.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. I
Yeah.
have seen things come full circle in, particularly in adult echocardiography, not
Mhm.
necessarily in fetal quite yet, but in adult echo, there's softwares out there that you basically put the probe down, you get your view. It does strain, it does all of your ES
Wow.
calculations, it spits it out into a report. Like you don't have to
Ooh,
measure anything; it's automatic.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
and that to me
amazing.
is, and they're pretty accurate. Like it's one thing to have that; it's another thing to
Yeah,
have that and be accurate,
right. That's
because
key.
that's key. And I think
Mhm.
that the accuracy level is improving and improving and improving the further along we get. I've seen systems that do fetal echo and OBGYN that are labeling everything. Like you said, sometimes the label's like completely not right,
Mhm.
or the measurement is a little stretched, not quite the right way,
Mhm.
but they're getting so much better. And the
Mhm.
more you do, the more we train. And I think
Exactly.
let's look at different AI models, right? So
Mhm.
you have a deep learning model that is basically using learning that has already been done, and the algorithm's just on the machine and it rests there. And then you have
Mhm.
a learning model where it's learning from what you're doing, right? So
Mm.
there's two different models, and most systems out there today do not have a model that is learning as you go, right? They
Right.
just don't
Mhm.
exist that way yet. I think that's the future of AI.
That's I was going to say that sounds like that's the future right there.
Yeah. So, because most ultrasound systems, they
Yes.
build the algorithm and they learn from the algorithm, and that algorithm
Right.
is on the tool that they're developing. But once they get it on the system and on the cart, it's done learning.
There.
It's just going to use what it knows, and that's it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that the future of AI is pushing that to where it is learning from all of the exams you do, your style of scanning, what you measure, how you measure your, femur length, and how you measure your BPD, which should hopefully be standardized and being measured by
Right.
everybody the same.
That is
But
true.
reality, it isn't, right? So
Mhm.
maybe I just think that this is kind of pushing the future boundaries of what an ultrasound system would be capable of in the future, where it's learning from the sonographer as you go. So,
It's amazing.
uh,
We've come a long way. If
yeah,
I think about what we were doing like 20 years ago to where we are now, AI, like what?
yeah. So
This
I
is
remember
like a long
yeah,
way.
on an Ultramark 9. I don't know if you remember that.
Mhm.
It was old.
No.
Oh, it was awful. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Ultramark 9. And then for Echo, I was on a 5500 and a 2500 HP and like the old Acuson Sequoia. So we've come a long, long way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
a
absolutely.
long way. So, yeah. So, I guess, I don't know. Like, for me, I just look at so much, and I want to contribute to the education like you are.
Mhm.
Before we actually started recording, we were talking a little bit, and I was telling you about what I love about kind of what I do. We both have
Mhm.
competitive things, right? So I could
Mhm.
very easily be like, oh, I don't want to talk to Lashell. She's offering what I offer, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's the truth of where we stand. Like, you have
Uh-huh.
products that I have, and I have products that you have, but we both approach it in a different way. So you'll have people
Mhm.
that relate to you, and I'll have people that relate to me,
Mhm.
and so I don't want to have these walls of division of, well, she says that and I don't want to talk to her because of it.
Right, right. But I mean, look at it like this. How many teachers we have in the world? How many ultrasound educators we have? We have a lot, but not as many as we should have.
Right. You're right.
You know, and so
But
yes,
yeah,
there's
you're right.
room for everyone.
You know, there is room for everyone at the table, and
Mhm.
it's time to not be at this place of like building up walls of I just want my thing and my focus and what's around me, but really being able to contribute together to the community of
Absolutely.
ultrasound, right?
Absolutely.
Because you bring
Yep.
so much wealth of knowledge to the table. You've been doing MFM ultrasound for 20 years. You know,
Mhm.
I've done MFM, but I've branched into some other things. So I can
Mhm.
learn from you as well, you know,
Mhm.
and I
Vice
want to be
versa.
able to do that, you know?
Mhm.
So, yeah, so I'm just really grateful to be able to have some of these high quality conversations with people like you who are really,
Mhm.
truly contributing quality to the field of ultrasound.
Right, right, absolutely. You know, when I was studying for my echo boards, I felt so alone. Like there were no resources out there at all. And I'm just on YouTube wondrously looking for videos, and that's when I felt like there was a need out there. So I appreciate the Megan Meads, you know, she's amazing. Mary Beth, you know, I appreciate that they came after that. Like, okay, yes, we need these resources out here, you know,
Yeah.
for those who's trying to learn or do their registries or just learn clinical.
Yeah.
We definitely need the resources here, and so
Yeah.
I love social media and the platforms that's allowing us to contribute across the world. It's not just here or in my region; it's across the world, and
Yeah.
so I
And you'd be
mean,
so surprised how hungry people are outside of
the
the
need is
US.
there. Absolutely,
They don't
the
have
need is
access to education.
there.
There's such a high need for education there. You know, one of the roles that I had was I was a global sales trainer, right? And
Hmm.
so I worked with countries like India and Africa and,
Hmm.
you know, all throughout the Middle East and just training them in echocardiography, right? Like, because they don't have the resources to learn like that. And so, you know,
Right.
I was just so honored to be able to do that and work with so many people across the world. And, you know, and I think you doing that as well. I mean, that's incredible that we can do that from your home in Virginia, right? Like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Here I am in
Exactly.
Ohio and able to do the same. So, yeah, I think that the future is open to all kinds of things education wise. And I think that, you know, all of the
Absolutely.
names you just mentioned, I think we all need to do a webinar together.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot Michelle. I love
Yeah.
Michelle
Oh, yeah.
Perez.
Yeah. So, you
Mhm.
know, I saw, I think it was a LinkedIn post that I saw of yours that said you're
Mhm.
working on some CME credits too. So that's
Mhm.
something that I offer as well.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm just picking your brain right now because I want to know what your plans are for that. Are you going through the SCMS for that? Because that's what I do.
Yes. Yes. Actually, for my course that's supposed to be
Yeah.
coming up in a couple months, I want to be able to offer the CMEs.
Awesome. Well, if you have any questions on that process, I'm
Mhm.
happy to help you because training is great, right? We
Mhm.
all want the training, but everybody's like, where's my CME credit?
Exactly. I
Everyone
mean,
wants that CME credit.
I
They're
mean,
like, I don't want to
I
train and not
give
get credit for it. Yeah.
right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. So offering CME credits is definitely a good thing business wise. And let's talk about
Mhm.
business, right? So one of my
Yes.
passions is business and ultrasound.
Mhm.
You know, I first started, I worked for a hospital for a while and then I went to work
Mhm.
for a mobile ultrasound company and I
Mhm.
ended up kind of leading that company. I was in charge there for like the last year that I worked there and just decided, why am I busting my ass working for someone else when I can do it for myself? So I started my own mobile
Mhm.
ultrasound company, right? And I did
Got it.
that for almost a decade. I started doing accreditation through that. I did some 3D 4D stuff on the side.
Mhm.
You know, so I operated my own business. So it has really catapulted me to really being an entrepreneur. And that
Mhm.
is my heart and that is just who I am. Like
Right.
I have resigned my jobs in industry the few
Mhm.
times that I've held them because I don't have the heart to work for someone else. I just don't. I don't have it in me. You know, I love scanning. I love doing that. I've picked up some per diem jobs scanning here and there because I love scanning, but to just like full time work for someone else, for me, that's really hard to do.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's hard to just step out in business and you're doing your business and working full time for someone else, right? So
Mhm.
the challenges of that is hard.
Ooh,
Kudos to you for that
it's so
because
hard.
yeah, I know the struggle. I know the struggle. Content development is not something that is done quickly. It takes a lot
No.
of time.
And mentally, it's straining, it's draining.
Yeah.
All the
So you're
it's a
scanning all day
lot.
long, and then you're teaching at night, right?
Mhm.
And trying to develop this empire that you have, which is awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's talk about some of the little struggles of being an entrepreneur and how you manage that part of it, right? Because especially when you're first starting out, which I believe, I don't know how long your business has been in effect, but even if you have someone to help you, it's still a lot falls on you, you know?
Yeah, the whole content thing. I went a whole entire year, so a whole year where I didn't see any results, meaning no opportunities, no no funding, of course. But that entire time, the drive was just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I'm glad I did, because it was like after that solid year, and then that's when things just kind of clicked for me. My business only been in business since 2024.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, so it's so new. It's so new.
It's
And
like a little baby.
it's a little baby. It's still a
Yeah.
little baby. It's not even a toddler yet. And so, but I embraced it only because the opportunities started coming in, and it is challenging still with my clinical side, because not only that, I have an 8-year-old daughter. My husband worked nights, and so like, instance for right now, she's in the room by herself, but she's fine. It's quiet. It's okay.
Sorry, you can bring her in. She can say hi.
Good or bad. It's a little too quiet, like, but she's fine. She even still, she's watched mommy do these webinars. She probably know more about ultrasound than she
I can
than
say
her
that
little
about my
life.
son. Yeah.
So she get it. She understands. But it's just, it is hard, but it is so rewarding at the same time. And so when I get emails from a sonographer saying, "Oh, I'm so grateful for you," and so forth, that's just like what pushes me along during those hard days. Because it is challenging. You had a hard day at work, 40 patients or so, and then you got to come home and prep for a webinar. It's just, so some nights it is challenging. But I actually, I love the teaching side, and so I'm still, embracing that side. Although I'm tired, but I'm still, okay, it's all worth it at the end of the night. So
Yeah. And you'll see the fruit of your efforts, I promise. Yeah.
and I actually, some days I have, and it's also worth it. Some look back like, how could you do that for an entire year? I did, and I'm so glad. What if I just stopped in month one? I never would be where I'm at today, and so I'm glad that I did push myself
Yeah.
during that time.
That's the fate of sometimes an entrepreneur that gives up too soon, is they're so close to like hitting that gold mine,
Yeah.
and I, like I said, I operated my mobile ultrasound company, and I got it as an IDTF, so it was an independent diagnostic testing facility in the state of Florida, and I did that for 10 years, and then I kind of hit a wall. I didn't know how to delegate at that point in my life. And
Right.
so, long story short, I almost died in 2013.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it just kind of knocked me back, and I had to really reevaluate my life and my priorities, and had to shift some things around. But even though, and so I closed it at that time, I had to, just for some things going on. But then I've reopened it since then. And, I love business. I love business. It's something I've done. I've coached people on how to start businesses. I've done real estate business. I've done so many things in business. And the thing that started that was my ultrasound business. And so I've recently started this podcast as a new kind of birth of my ultrasound business again. And so just because it's where my passion is. My passion, I like making money from real estate, but that's not my passion. You know what I mean? Money's good, but you have to love what you do, and ultrasound is what I love.
And that's what I that is key. If you don't enjoy it, you're not gonna follow. You're gonna stop doing it. It's just and it's gonna show your work. It's gonna show you like, oh yeah, you don't put all your effort into it. You have to love it, and I think that's what, at the end of the day, that's what keeps me going, because I absolutely love it, 100%.
Yeah, and the only thing that I can say is work smarter, not harder, right? As an entrepreneur, that's what we have to do. Is, utilize every AI tool that you can in your wheelhouse to work smarter, not harder. Like, for example, I have, and I'll just throw it out there. Like, I have my little, I have some beeps going on. So yeah. So I have my store, right? I have a store at allaboutultrasound.com. It has a whole lots of merch and different things like that I've created because I love graphic design as well. So, I have this like graphic design part of me that I can let loose and just have fun when I'm bored. And so, but yeah, but I've automated that, right? Like, so one of the things I love is Chat GPT, and one of the things I use it for is to create all of my product descriptions on my store. Because why am I going to hand create that? I take what the manufacturer says this specification is, I plug it into Chat GPT to give me a nice little like blurb on it, and I have a nice little description, so the one thing I can say as a business owner to business owner is work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. I tip like with my webinars, this year I've done a webinar every month. Not that it was planned. It's just every month this year. And so it wasn't until like July, I'm like, why are you creating a new webinar every time? Pull from the others.
Record it and reuse it.
I know. I mean, it took a half a year, but I finally was like, I talked about Doppler here. Let's merge it together, And so, like you said, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, you learn from mistakes, and that's okay. We all make them, and we learn from them and keep moving. But yeah, work smarter, not harder. So again, I've done content creation for a long time. I have a whole real estate course that I offer too on the side.
Wow.
Whole other business. But anyway, so so that one is like a timed webinar. People log into it and they can get into the webinar any time of day. You know what I mean?
That's
and
amazing.
So automation is key. So when we talk about AI, it's not just for where we are clinically, but it's for everything we do in our lives. Like I use AI everywhere I can. I mean, you have to not use AI when you're preparing slides for, content. You want to make sure that
it's correct.
Your content is correct because AI makes mistakes. Just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there are things that AI should not be involved in, right?
I agree.
There are things that you can really make your life a lot easier for. And so I'm glad that you see that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, yeah.
Awesome assistant.
Yep. Yeah. And as far as like kids, right? I started my first ultrasound business when my son was 3. And so he grew up being scanned every time I would get a new machine. I would set him up. I'd be like, here, bud. And then eventually he's like, Mom. And he's now about to be 21 and he's a firefighter.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Shopping for his first house. So proud.
Okay.
I'm proud. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I fully understand having the 8-year-old knowing more about ultrasound than probably she should. But yeah, you should bring her on a webinar sometime. Let her say hello.
Yeah. I have a simulator, ultrasound simulator. And I'm like, told my daughter, I said, I think ultrasound is in your calling, baby. Because I mean, she was standing on this simulator, and I'm like, okay. And I mean, that's what it's for. It's for teaching.
Yeah, that's fun.
And so, so already she said, I think I want to be an ultrasound tech, Mom. And so that just
love it.
My heartstrings. Like, sure, baby, you got your teacher right here. So you're good.
Yeah.
You're gonna pass those boards.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I so I've been doing some focus workshops lately, and so I have my little. Probably should plug for the company, but anyway, it's all good. I have my pro, and so my son's like, "Are you seriously going?" Because I'm working with EMS services to offer point of care ultrasound, and so he's like, "They're gonna make me do ultrasound? Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "Yep." See, you were cut out for it all along. Yeah,
I was ready. You didn't know it.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, he's been ultrasounded. Probably way too much in his life, but
it's okay. No risk, right? No risk there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy
Absolutely.
schedule, your schedule with your family, to be
It's
here with me
okay.
tonight.
It's all right.
And yeah, I'm excited for your future. I love what you have going on. I really
You.
appreciate the professionalism that you bring to the industry, and
Thank
also
you.
not just professionalism, but the personality, right? The heart. You bring a lot of just genuineness is what I
Hmm.
see in you to a field that sometimes doesn't have that, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I was like, you have to love it. I hear sometimes from the patients, the last sonographer was so mean, and like, I feel so bad, because like they can feel that if you love it or not, your
Yeah.
patients, and so we have
It
to
shows.
like that in mind.
Yeah.
It's like experience for them, and they remember that for a lifetime. Especially when you're dealing with high risk OB,
Yeah.
and so we just have to keep that in mind. I understand we have bad days and so forth, but
Yeah.
we're
Everybody's
still
gonna have a bad day,
tragic.
and
Yeah,
everybody I think
absolutely.
sometimes feels taken advantage of
Hmm.
from whether that's by
Yeah,
the employer
yeah.
or the patient,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, it's hard because patients can be difficult sometimes, but you have to be empathetic and you have to
Yes.
find that in yourself. And if you don't have that in you, ultrasound might not be for you.
Mm-mm.
I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Just because you're skilled at doing something does you can't separate that skill set from the part of relating to your patient. You have to be able to relate to your
Exactly. You have to. Yep.
Yeah. Especially when, for you, high risk OB, you are dealing with such high emotional situations all day
Mhm.
long. You know,
Mhm.
I think that's probably the highest emotional, that and pediatric cardiology, I think are the areas of ultrasound that you're just really dealing with so much
Um,
patient anxiety, patient
for
stress,
fertility too.
fertility. Yeah.
Fertility.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
There's a
did
lot.
fertility for 18 years, and
Yeah.
so it's fertility and it's like uh,
Yeah.
depending on the day, it can.
Yeah. You're right. Yep.
Woo.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, that is
Mhm.
true. And even more so because of all the different hormones that are being injected
Ah,
with
that
fertility as
that
well.
part.
So you're dealing with not only the emotional status, but also the hormonal levels that add to that,
Uh,
right? So,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, I remember for me, I was my first pregnancy, I was the complete emotional mess. Like prior to that, I was
Oh,
like completely emotionally shut off. I didn't cry. I didn't like. I just not an emotional person. It's just not who I
mhm.
was. And so then I get pregnant and I'm like, I'm like crying and everything. Like I think someone put bacon on my sandwich and I was like in tears and throwing it across the room. Like what?
Oh,
So there is absolutely a hormonal aspect to those emotions that we have to
yes,
consider. you know?
right.
Yeah. So it's a challenge sometimes, but yeah,
Yeah,
you can't forget that the patient might not be quite acting their normal selves either.
exactly. Mhm.
Yeah.
You take it
So
so personal.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So awesome. All right. Do you have
Ooh.
anything else you want to talk about before we end our call?
I don't know if you saw, I made my first international sale. My
Awesome. I
book
did
is
not.
in Australia. Can you believe it? As of
Awesome.
yesterday, I may never be there, but my book is there. I wish I had like an air tag or a camera or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Not a
awesome.
camera, that may be too invasive, but just because it's there, a
RFID.
piece of me,
Yeah.
is there,
Yeah.
and I'm just through the roof through that sale. And
That's
so
awesome.
that was a highlight of mine, and I was so nervous that it wasn't going to arrive. I don't know why, but it
Yeah.
was shipped and arrived and delivered,
Okay.
and so I am thrilled that it's
Very
there.
nice.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's all about.
Congratulations. That's a
Thank
huge
you.
achievement. Yeah. Let's talk
Oh
about it.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for some new. I always have ideas in my head, and
Mhm.
so I'm so excited to finally birth those ideas, and
To
so
see
to
them
show.
come alive I think that's
Hmm.
the best part about being a
Hmm.
business owner. And business ownership isn't for everyone, right? This is something that I also want to touch on because so many
True.
people want to go out and start a business and they want to work for themselves, and that's great. And I help people do that. So I help people get started in business. Um, and my passion is to help sonographers step out on their own, honestly.
Hmm.
But it's not for everyone. And I think sometimes we have this pipe dream of, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to be all so much better. But you better be ready to bust your butt. Like, as a business owner,
100%.
Yeah.
You're working 24 hours. Like, there is no, I mean, I guess it is some time off, but you're working 24 hours. Just put it like that.
Yeah.
And so,
I think when I was building my first business, I slept for 4 hours a day. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. But some, they want the fast money, or they want that right away. There's times where you're not going to make anything.
No money.
And you have to keep going. But some is just like, no, it's not worth it, and they're like done with it. And it's, that's not,
you have to be willing to work for a year to 3 years and not really see any income potential come in. And if you can go into it with that mindset, then you'll be okay. I haven't my businesses have always been profitable within usually 6 months. Just because I've learned how to get them there that way really fast. But you know what I mean? Like, that's not always the case in business. You might not have that. So what do you do if you step out? And I love what you're doing. You are building and you're working full time. So you don't have, granted, that's harder in a lot of ways because you still have to hold it down at your full-time job.
Right.
And you have to show up, whether you've been working till midnight on your own projects or not, but as a full-time entrepreneur, if you go into this full-time, like, you have to give it your all, everything, every waking moment you have is devoted to that. And sometimes that's hard when you do have a family, when you have other responsibilities going on. So it can be very challenging, but as long as you have that drive and that motivation, I think anyone who steps out in business will be successful as long as they have that mentality.
Absolutely. I found a business plan that I wrote in 2010. Oh, you can't see it. It's blurred out. Yeah, 2010. But I was just reading through it. I just found this like 2 days ago.
I love it. And does your business look anything like it?
I mean, well, this one was more for like ultrasound. I was planning to open a 3D, 4D ultrasound facility, so forth. But I had some other side things within the plan. But my mind, 2010 mind, I'm like, what? Wow, I wrote this. I can imagine, still the same mind, just built on it. But this was more for, because that was my goal then at that time.
Was to do a 340 elective center.
Yeah. That was my goal initially during that time. But now I'm more on the educating side, and so I think that's where I'm gonna be.
You can do both.
That's true. That is true.
You can do both.
That is true. Yeah, you can do
don't ask me how I know that.
Wink.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it was just amazing to see my mindset when I wrote that plan. Like, amazing. Like, wow, girl.
Yeah.
All about that.
It's crazy to look back at like where you've come from and things like that. I started my first ultrasound business in 2008. Wow. And so a lot has changed since 2008, but I was going back through some things, trying to find something. And I found, like you said, it wasn't necessarily a business plan, but I had this like vision map that I had mapped out, and I was just blown away by it. Like, all the stuff that I wanted to do back then, right? And it's this vision of, I had mobile ultrasound, I had the IDTF, I had the 3D 4D, I had some education stuff going on as well. Right. And like, I've seen all of these things come to pass, really, honestly. Some of them at different timings, not necessarily all together, but just, so I believe in God. This is my background. That's who I am. I believe in God. He's had his hand on my life from day one. And so, there's a verse in the Bible that says, write the vision and make it plain, so that the people who run with it know where to go and they know how to run. Right. And so, if you don't write the vision and make it plain, how can you ever know where you're going? So it's so interesting that you come back on your business plan and I come back on this whole vision board that I had drawn out. And, it really does help me to know now, like, okay, I was on the right track with that,
it's like confirmation. That it was confirmation. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I had the mindset there. So,
Yep.
absolutely.
And life may get in the way. Things have happened since then. I almost died. I ended up going through a
Oh,
divorce I didn't expect, but like stuff happens. I'm now remarried, and that is a whole other aspect of life that I didn't
right,
expect.
right.
So, but I think that if you can really map out where you want to go in your life, and whether that's business, whether that's career,
Mhm.
and that will really help you when you are looking back on it, to make sure that you've followed the plan that you want for your life and the path that you want for your life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
awesome.
totally love it. I love it.
Well, thank
Fun.
Yeah.
This
All
was
right. So
cool.
thank you so much, Lashell. I really appreciate how you just bring education to the forefront in our industry. And you're really an advocate for learning, for, being able to really be a critical thinker as a sonographer. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So thanks for joining. This has been another episode of Sonographers After Dark with Lashell Jones. And you can catch her. What's the best place to find you at, Lashell?
LinkedIn. I'm always there. All day, all
Awesome.
night.
Find her on LinkedIn, and I will see you next time.
Okay. Bye.